Nice. All right. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
All right.
sir.
Hey, bro, what's up? I'm Vin,
And I'm Jeff.
and welcome to our podcast. This week is about alcohol with our returning guest, Phil. Say hello, Phil.
Yo. Hello.
All right. Let's start with the quote of the week, Phil.
Yeah, this is from Unknown. An alcoholic may be lying in the gutter, but still looks down upon others.
Nice.
This is something I've heard from people. And then I tried to look it up, and I thought it was like a famous quote, but it's not. So I guess it's just something I've kind of picked up in like the recovery community. I've heard it been said.
Mm.
I've heard it been said before, and I think it's resonates with me because it's basically I think how I felt. Like I always felt like, oh, I'm not an alcoholic because I got this under control. And look at that other person, and they don't have it under control. Or look at this caricature. Uh, that's what an alcoholic is. But even when I'm going through it, yeah. So I think it's about humility and understanding where you're at with your relationship with alcohol. So it resonates with me.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to read it, and it's interesting. I'm not sure how to take it. Jeff, you got any takes on this?
I kind of interpreted it a little differently. Like,
Mm-hmm.
after hearing your explanation, Phil, like, I can totally see it that way. But at first glance, it was more of like, I pictured the times when I was, like, shit faced drunk, and you feel like you're larger than life. Like, looking down on it, I was like, I'm the best, I'm better than you. Like,
Yeah.
that's just kind of how I looked at
Like
it.
in a good way? Like you remember that, like, oh yeah. This
I
was a
mean,
good time.
I wouldn't say being shit faced is a good thing, but
Yeah. Man,
Uh,
the thing is, when I'm shit faced, I feel like I don't give a shit about other people. Like they don't even like register to me. But this is definitely how I felt when I was sober. So that's interesting. That's how you felt when you were like shit faced.
Explain that. So when you're sober, what you felt that you looked down upon others? What do you mean?
Yeah, like basically like there's so much bad stuff going on around me because of my relationship with alcohol, and yet I'm looking down on people
Oh.
who I perceive to have like a problem where I don't, because I'm viewing things relatively like, oh, I haven't done this, I haven't gone to rehab, so that's like one thing that was very common with me. Like I would meet a lot of people who were in recovery who were like out of rehab or like had gone to rehab 3 times, and I was like, wow, like pretty fucked up. Like honestly, like I was such a dick. I was just like, wow, these people like really don't have it under control, don't have their life together. Like they need to go to rehab 3 times. But that's how I think this quote kind of helped me reframe, focus on my own issues, and see where like I really didn't have my stuff together, my affairs in order either.
so you were more of like a functioning alcoholic, and you're like, I got this. Like, I can continue drinking and, take care of what I need to take care of. Or am I interpreting that wrong?
Yeah, I mean, for a long time. I think for a long time, that's how I felt. I wouldn't say I didn't feel like I was an alcoholic for a long time.
Fair.
That's what an alcoholic
Fair.
would say.
Yeah. Like that's kind of the point. Like I don't have a problem.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, you have a problem, but I don't. As you're drinking one. Yeah. I get it. There seems to be a trend that we're seeing as we're going through the vice addiction, because I'm not experienced in drugs and stuff with vices and addictions, and there seems to be like a categorization of one side, the typical, if you get addicted, you're pretty much you're kind of a deadbeat. You're not doing anything. You're usually in the streets if you take hard drugs, etc. And then there's another where it's functioning addicts, where they still are able to live through life, have their jobs, have their house. So it's an interesting trend I am seeing. So, and for you to be like, yeah, no, I felt like I definitely looked down on others because I was like, I still have a good life, even if I'm addicted.
Yeah. I guess I feel like it's probably more of a spectrum. Like, I don't know, right? I don't know the future, and I know where I was at, and I think people would think of me as high functioning because I made a lot of money and I was keeping stuff together, and I had friends and whatever. But I don't know. Like, I think that maybe addiction in general is like progressive, is how I feel. Like, it gets worse generally, without getting better. If you are like a real addict.
Right. It like from the outside in, would you say socially, what your personal experience was, people kind of didn't stop you from being alcoholic, right? And everyone kind of like, how would I say, they weren't as concerned as say someone on the street or like a friend that is going through trouble, and you're like, hey, like you should stop like drinking and everything, right? Would you say that was your how you felt in the beginning?
Um. No, I think by the time I decided to like quit drinking, it had gotten to a point where I think the people around me would have supported that choice, or like maybe they didn't bring it up first, but people
Right.
I think understood.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a good decision for me.
See, I had the opposite. The people around me encouraged my drinking.
Nice.
And they justified it because the period where I was an alcoholic was when I was in college. Like, fresh out of the military, fresh off Afghanistan, every dollar I had that didn't go towards a bill was spent at the bar.
Dude.
And all the people around me would justify it. They're like, oh, you're not an alcoholic, man. Like, you're in college. This is your time to have fun. I'm like, there's a difference between having fun and getting drunk 7 nights a week.
Yeah, wow. And but that was only limited to college. Like, after college you stopped.
I quit while I was in college, to be honest. My last year, I went from drinking every night to, like, maybe on the weekend, if I had, like, a couple buddies who were like, hey, let's go to the bar and get a drink, I'd go, but I would limit myself to 3 drinks for the whole night.
Yeah. And you did that. How did you do that? Like, was it hard to do that?
I got a DUI. And,
dude,
nobody got hurt, thankfully. Like, oddly enough, the cop that arrested me was like, I didn't even pull you over because you were driving. You were driving just fine. You weren't wearing a seatbelt. And I was like, fuck, okay.
Wow.
But having to pay, I'm not trying to justify driving drunk. Like, for the love of God, anyone listening, please don't. But after having to attend the classes and the seminars and pay, like, I want to say it was like $9,000 in fines and court costs, I was like, I got a fucking problem. And that was kind of the turning point.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's awesome. I think that is awesome that you were able to do it. Like, stick to a 3-drink minimum, because for me, I don't think I could do that. Like, even now, like.
Now I'm completely sober. I stopped drinking 7 months ago.
Oh, okay, cool. Congrats. That's a huge.
It was medical reasons, but.
Okay, no, still, I mean, you're prioritizing your health over drinking. So
hey man, take your wins where you can get it. All right, just take your wins, dude. All right, always down.
Win's a win.
Exactly.
It's a win, baby. Except the fact that you have some medical issue, underlying medical issue, which may be a huge L that I don't know about, but
we'll take care of that problem later.
Yeah.
All right, Phil. Yeah, describe your relationship with alcohol, man. Why, why you're on this episode.
Yeah. No. My relationship with alcohol. I didn't start drinking till pretty late. I think I knew kind of early on that like alcohol was something I wanted to stay away from in early high school. I don't know if that's so true. I was just fucking lame. You know, I wasn't invited to the parties or anything where anyone was drinking. I had no idea how to get a hold of fucking liquor. So maybe it wasn't until senior year when I actually had the opportunity. But maybe I fucking justified it by saying that I thought I knew it was no good for me. And drugs definitely scared me. I think alcohol I was interested in. And so I remember like my first time drinking, I literally did it like alone. Like it was like not alone. I had a friend with me who had gotten a bottle of vodka, and it was homecoming dance, and we were It was after homecoming dance. I don't remember what even happened. I wasn't drunk. I was sober for the actual homecoming, and then afterwards, I was like, I want to like get drunk because I've never drank before. And this guy had procured like this bottle, and he was driving, so he didn't. I think he had like a shot, but I had like 4 shots and got like absolutely blacked out, and then went to Olive Garden. Apparently, I was told, ate a lot, and then played some DDR and was like falling over myself, and it was pretty tame. You know, it was a pretty mellow experience. And I saw the videos the next day. I was like, this is awesome. Like, looks like so much fun. I just didn't remember any of it. So I always associate alcohol with fun. I think that's my relationship. I always felt like I was fun. I was extremely fun to be around. Like I always felt like, even though I didn't remember it, like felt like alcohol kind of like unleashed me, basically. You know what I mean? Like that was the inner me. That was how I was supposed to be. And I thought everyone loved me when I was drunk. You know. So I think that's what it is. I just loved. I didn't like the taste. I never really liked the taste of alcohol. I think I got to a place where it was like kind of passable for me, but I loved the feeling of being drunk.
Did you not think you could get to that fun feel without the alcohol? You never thought like just be that?
Yeah, man. I don't know. It just felt like I was so different. Basically, I think that's the thing. Is like it didn't really feel like it was me. Like it wasn't really almost recognizable. Like the confidence I had when I was drunk.
Right.
Like the not giving a fuck about anyone around me. Like I would like just like I went to parties and I was actually like a huge a-hole. Like I would literally be bumping into everyone, spilling stuff on everybody. Like people like would not want to be around me when I was drunk, but I thought I was like having so much fun, was like the life of the party, and just I wasn't considering anyone but me in those moments, and that was really freeing, I think, for how I just regularly lived my life, and I didn't feel like that's something I could actually do without alcohol.
Interesting. Yeah.
Or even like that's something that's you would want to do, you know, like would I want to live like that, because I really don't feel.
I see. So it was like a pass. It was like because you were drunk, you could do these things, but you're like, okay, and realistically, I don't actually want to be that person all the time. Would you say that?
I mean, they don't call it liquid courage for no reason.
Yeah, probably. I don't think I'd want to be that way all the time.
Okay. Yeah, that's why it's hard for me to relate or understand, because it's in my head. I was like, if I want to be a type of way, I kind of just trained to get there. I just practiced until I became that. So yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, it's always interesting. How were your social groups with drinking? Like, were you ever peer pressured, or like what was your environment around alcohol? After you got started, you started going through college. I think is when you said that's kind of when it kind of vamped up.
Yeah, I definitely picked up drinking a lot more in college. I mean, I was in a fraternity, so I think it was very heavily focused on drinking. Like, just our pledge process was basically just like every event. It's like an event where we just got absolutely blacked out and drank, and we were like boot to reboot. I remember that being one of the phrases of one of the events. Like, you have to throw up. Like, you have to drink till you throw up, then drink again.
Jesus.
Sounds about right.
Boot camp. It's called boot camp because you boot.
What the hell?
So yeah, it was, and the crazy thing is, I loved it, man. I loved those events. I thought it was so easy. I remember being like, this is so easy, like in the moment, you know, like I remember fearing like that they would actually make us do like physical stuff because that's what you hear about in fraternity pledge is like, oh, you have to eat a goldfish or you have to like, you know, do laps and run, and we had a little bit of that kind of stuff, but it was mainly like drinking, and that for me it was just like so fun.
It only enhanced, like enabled your environment, like drink environment even more, right? You were like, okay, I had fun the first time. Now in this environment, it's just like even more fun than before. Is that right?
Yeah, and I think I was egged on. You know, I think people like really liked when I got absolutely wasted, probably because I like would just do stupider and crazier things than I would do otherwise.
Yeah.
Like my nickname was Blackout Phil, and then it became 4 and below because like I would hook up with girls that were like people perceived to be ugly because like 4s and belows. It was like, and that was like funny, and I was like, ugh. Like,
that is not the nickname you want.
Yeah, but I like kind of like latched onto it. I was just looking for any type of belonging, I guess. Like where I was like, oh, this is like acceptable, I guess.
Association, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like we had very different experiences with the fraternity life because my whole pledge process was just a weird ritual, and then once it was done, you were initiated in. Then all the partying and drinking came.
Okay, yeah, no, they got us started early. Just like as soon as we rushed, basically.
I drank a gallon of water one time. Does that count?
Yeah, I mean, that seems pretty tough. I think that's pretty tough, dude. Yeah, so I had, I think, fraternity, which facilitated drinking, and then I had just my family, which is like Indian culture that I'm coming from. It's like there is just a lot of drinking that goes on. Like adults will be going to church, and then like the aunties will be praying in church, and like the uncles will just be like out in the parking lot drinking Hennessy from the trucks. It's like just drinking is like a big part of the culture. So like my cousins, like whenever we would come back from breaks and stuff, it was always like the occasion was like we get back together and drink and drive drunk and do stupid things.
Don't drink and drive.
Huh?
So don't drink and drive.
Don't drink and drive, man. Do not. Yeah. I was always such a pussy about it. Like I never wanted to be the one to like get caught, so I would always make other people drive as if that's better, right? Like I was like, okay, that's fine. Like you're drunker than I am. Like these people were probably more blacked out than me, but I was like, I'm not gonna go to fucking jail for this. So you can take on the risk, but such an asshole thing to do considering you're putting other people in danger.
Are there levels to blacked out? Like, can you be more blacked out than the other person?
I mean, I just think you can be more drunk. Like, you can have less motor function. Like, you can be blacked out and then drink more.
Damn.
And still have less motor function.
Well, you have like the in and out blackout where like, you know, it comes and goes. Like you're coherent for like 3 minutes and then you're incoherent for like 10. And then you have full blackout where you have zero clue what you're doing.
Damn. It sounds scary. I don't know. I'm just surprised people go through that a lot. Because in my head, it sounds scary.
It can
like
be.
Yeah. Going with that, like, what was your worst moments with alcohol?
Oh, that's easy.
If you have, okay, here it comes. I'm scared.
So, once again, in college, I was at a party that started at like noon, and we just drank all fucking day, all fucking night.
God damn.
And like, I have complete memory for most of the night, and I knew I shouldn't have drove. This was before my DUI. And I remember telling my friends, like, all right, like, I'm going home, and one of them was smart enough to ask how I was getting home. And I was like, oh, I'm fine, I'm driving. Nobody in that room thought to stop me.
Yeah.
I remember getting in my car, and then I woke up in the parking lot of my apartment complex. No memory of the drive, starting my car, getting home, nothing. So that should have been the final straw for me to stop.
Yeah.
But at the time, like, I just justified. I was like, well, I made it. I'm fine.
Why was that your worst moment?
Because it's one of the few times that I fully blacked out and have no memory of what happened.
Okay.
And I drove.
Yeah.
Phil?
There's a lot. I would say one of the worst ones was this is so ridiculous. No, it's not ridiculous. I was literally I was in college and I was like in charge of not really hosting a party, but I was getting a lot of people. Like I was one of the people in charge of getting people to this party. And I remember running around that evening before, like telling people and like being like trying to get people to come to this party. And then there was one girl there, and who I had invited, and I like didn't really know her, and she was not pretty. I was not very interested in her. But like, dude, she's just like, I remember like being at this party and like being very drunk, and this girl like was really trying to like hook up with me. And I did not want to at all. And I like rebuffed her like 2 or 3 times. But like as the night went on, I just got more drunk, and I just remember like the next later that night we were just in the apartment together, and she was like trying to get me to go down on her, and I was like, oh my god, like this is not where I want. Like it was disgusting. Like after this night, and I was just like.
You felt disgust in the moment or after?
I got the hell out of there after. Okay, I'm not gonna reveal the contents of what happened that night.
No,
but I felt very disgusted after because I felt like I was literally preyed upon. Like not jokingly, I was like, obviously I had like the ability to leave and things like that. Like I'm a man. Like I don't think she could have forced me to do anything I wouldn't to do. But it did feel like I was taken advantage of in a way, and that was definitely one of the worst moments. Even though it later became a source of like something that I joked about, because it was like another thing that I just tried to claim onto as being like, alcohol leads to funny situations and funny stories, and I thought this was a funny story of like,
what the story is.
Man was almost raped. Like that's how I kind of like that's how I talked about it, which I know is wrong because I wasn't raped.
It's a coping mechanism. That's how you coped with it.
Yeah, but like I was like, that was definitely one of like the worst moments I would say. Like I just remember feeling, yeah, at that moment, feeling like this is disgusting. Like how did I end up here? Like I don't remember leaving with her. I thought I had said no to like hooking up with her earlier. Really did not like this girl. What is going on? I need to get out of here.
Right. Yeah. So we talked a lot about like we're seeing a lot of the cons to alcohol. Are there any pros to it? Any benefits? You know.
None that I would want to glorify.
Wine at night will improve your. I don't know.
I think it's red wine, right?
Red wine.
That is true.
Red wine and chocolate per night will help you live forever.
I mean, they say it is good for your heart, that whole, like, 1 glass of red wine, but anything above that, I wouldn't want to glorify and say there's benefits to drinking.
It could be.
There was... It's something interesting. I was listening to a podcast on... Oh my god, we're on a podcast. From, like, this... One of my favorite podcasts is Freakonomics, and they did, they were looking into cannabis and alcohol industry, and it's like, I mean... Alcohol has been an important part of like just human society, right? Because it was just like a way for people to like, it became a part of rituals, for example, right? So like you have rituals that are like associated with alcohol, like toasts and things like that. So I think I think that's a good thing. Like it's a way that like society bonds in some ways. Like in Europe, I think that many times they have like a good relationship with alcohol where it's kind of just like a social lubricant, and it usually works decently well. I feel like people don't take it too far. Maybe they do. I don't really know. I'm not European, but it seems like they have a better handle of it than we do in the States.
Yeah, is it because is it enough of a benefit to where you would advocate for, hey, like, do social drinking, or is it just like that's not even worth the benefit, like, of just avoid it?
I mean,
think it's up to every individual person. I mean, I think alcohol use is it's like a poison, right? Like from a medical standpoint, like I don't think there's ever like a. It's not. It's like aside from whatever that one wine a night, which I don't think is actually necessarily even true. I think that those kinds of studies are usually sponsored by the alcohol industry, but I think that there's no like medical reason to have it. But there's no medical reason to have French fries either. So it just really depends on I think your ability to moderate it, and I think it's probably on an individual case by case basis.
WebMD, some studies show that red wine is good for heart health because it helps reduce the risk of plaque buildup in the arteries. And that's it. It has anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. Reduce risk of cancer.
Okay, yeah. So
I don't know about the
maybe
reduced
some of
risk
that's
of
legit.
cancer, but I can understand the plaque buildup because I mean it is a blood thinner.
Yeah. So when did you?
How do you feel then?
How do I feel
about it? Because you don't drink very much. Like, do you just feel like it's a positive when you choose to use it?
I mean, you know me with vices, and I avoid it as much as possible. Yeah, I live my life as, okay, I can have the most fulfilled and have the most fun without needing any external enhancers. So, I do my limit only because it's kind of what you said. It's kind of the social construct of having that drink with everyone, not feeling excluded or anything like that. So.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah, I mean, there's some crazy stuff about like people say that like the agricultural revolution. One theory is that it was started because like people wanted to be near barley because that's how you create beer. Mm-hmm. So it was like the love of beer that actually caused people to want to settle down and cultivate it so they could have it. It's like the beer theory of like the agricultural revolution or something. It's like nuts, Like I think that alcohol has been a really important part of society for a long time. So.
Yeah.
Well, and it's not for no reason.
As soon as humans found out they could make it, and then found out they can get drunk from it, they all wanted it.
Yeah.
My group, my social group, we try to shy away. We try to be like, okay, how do we create an environment where alcohol is not required? No, alcohol and drugs or anything, and we still feel happy, fun, and the night is filled with joy. So
yeah. Do you feel like you're able to like reach the levels of exhilaration though? Because I feel like part of it is like risk taking, right? Like you have people like Alex Honnold, right, who like does like the free climbing of like crazy mountains without any rope, right? And it's like, is that a good idea for him?
But he did it drunk. He can't do it.
No, he didn't do it drunk. I'm just saying. I'm saying in general. I think like there's this idea of like we do things that are risky because they are exhilarating and exciting and like can lead to like just levels of pleasure we wouldn't be able to replicate without that risk. And I think that a big part of alcohol is that like you just take risks and do things that you wouldn't otherwise do, and there is like an exhilaration that comes from that. So do you feel like you can do that? Like, I don't know, what do you think about that, Ben? Like, because you guys don't do like risky things, right? When you're not doing like motorsports or anything like that. It's just
those are once in a while when we want to go like skydiving, or go cliff walking, stuff like that, go camping and stuff. But nothing. I don't know. That's an interesting behavioral and kind of thought of why do I not feel the need to do risky things? I'm fine at home playing games. Playing TFT with you, like that for me, winning gets that for me is exhilarating. Or when we play Valorant and we get those instant flicks, that for me feels really good. Like I feel fulfilled with that. I don't need the physical, the social. Huh. That's an interesting thought. I have to think about it more.
Also, I feel like the way you worded it, Phil, is kind of a catch-22, like, because it gets you to take those risks you wouldn't normally take. That's not always a good thing.
Right, yeah. And I think that's the point, is it's not, well, a good thing, right? But, yeah.
Like, can it lead you to discovering something you enjoy? Sure. Because it could get you to try something you wouldn't normally try, but, like, it could also lead to you doing something really dumb.
Yeah.
I guess maybe the difference here is that alcohol can cause you to do things that hurt other people, like not just drunk driving, but you hurt like the people that are close to you. Like, you destroy relationships. Whereas like something where you're just risking your own physical safety is like that's kind of on you. Maybe there's more. That's more acceptable, right? Like this dude free climbing a mountain, like he's not going to hurt anybody else. But when you like drink, you are potentially doing that.
Yeah, no, because I'm thinking back to the personal anecdotes of people secondhand of why they drink, and it's like, oh, I want to ask that guy out, or like I'm at the party and I want to talk to people. I'm really nervous, scared, and then so you take a shot and then you go and do it. So it's like I never needed that. It was just like, okay, if I'm scared, then I'm gonna go beat that fear, right? I mentioned in the dating episode where at 13 I was scared to talk to girls, so I took a week, went to the food court and talked to other teenagers because I was like, why am I so freaking scared? These are all just human beings. So then after that, I was like, I got rid of that fear. That was because that was risky. I mean, it's a risk, right? Getting rejected or, getting weirding people out, and it was like,
yeah. They call the mall cops on you because they think you're just
mall cops. No,
you little 13-year-old. Like, who is this?
Yeah.
Vin,
your
your brain's also very unique, though.
Certainly not.
What is it, Jeff?
I said your brain is also very unique, though, because I don't know how many people can set their mind to something and just repeat until you get it.
But that's just practice, right? That's just training, like with any like instrument, school, right? You just repeat until you get good at it.
See, but academics and sports and activities, that's different than social constructs that you just explained.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how I got the mindset. It has to be from my dad. He was always the one of like look at other people's behavior. How can you make people he was more into manipulation rather than how I turned it, but he was like, how do you get people to do what you want? So you need to like pursue what's the word?
Persevere?
No, not persevere. Present yourself in a way to get people to get closer to you, and then, yada, yada, yada. But I was like, dude, I'm scared to talk to people. What am I supposed to do? So I was like, okay, let me just face your fears. This typical anime and games where they like, go face your fears. So I was like, okay, I'm going to be an anime character right now. Let me go face it. And then I faced it.
Yeah, I think probably for most people, there's like just a big jump, right? With like the things that you want to do. Like if your goal is to ask this girl out and you realize that where you are is like, I can't even talk to any girl as a teenager, it's like you found like that kind of intermediary step. Like I need to practice this. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, I guess it's just like this element of like social practice. It's not that like this like normalized thing. Like to practice socialization is not really a normal behavior.
That's true. I mean, I because I'm trying to think like how did I even get that idea? And I was like, I don't know. I just thought I don't even know how I got the idea of what do you say? How girls are not, a different species. They're not they're not an alien society. It's like, I just, for some reason I had the idea. It's like, okay, they're human beings. Well, obviously you look at anatomy, it's like biology. It's like, they're human beings. So I was like, why am I so scared? I didn't understand. So, I don't know. Interesting.
Is this why Omegle exists? I think I finally understand why it exists now. It's like replicating that thing of like meeting a random stranger and talking with them. Like I never got it, and I was like, so that seems like so awkward to do that. But
You know, that might be how I learned to talk to people, because me and my buddies would sit on that, like, on, like, a Friday night if we had nothing going on. We're like, let's go on Omegle and see if we can find someone to fuck with.
Yeah. It's so funny. I'm sure you saw your fair share of dicks.
Yeah, but I see that now at work, too, so...
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The listeners don't understand, but Vin does.
Yeah.
More than I'd like to see. Yeah.
You guys.
It's all good.
Content moderation, bro. Like
Oh, yeah.
He's the modern day janitor.
Unfortunately.
Hey, man, it's better than being an actual janitor. Come on.
I don't know, I feel like actual janitors see less dicks.
That's true. They don't see it in the act, man. They don't they just see the results.
They see the aftermath.
The results. They see the aftermath. You have to witness the actual act.
Anyways, back on topic. When did you realize you were addicted? When did you realize you're an addict to alcohol?
I think it took a really long time for me to realize I was addicted to alcohol, because I was convinced that I had like the ability to stop.
Yeah.
And I would. So I remember in my senior year, I vowed to stop drinking. I swore off alcohol because I had like number one, when I get drunk, I'm like really aggressive with Tran, for example, and there's other things too where I like flirt with other girls and things like that. So like I got into a lot of trouble, and it seemed like my relationship was at stake. So I swore my senior year to stop drinking, and it's crazy. I made this big like dramatic scene of that where I was like, this is my one bottle of alcohol that I have in college. Like what Jeff was saying about like how you spend every dollar. Like this is worth so much to me, and I just poured it out outside right in front of her. And I was like, this is it. I'm never gonna drink again. And then like 3 months later, I was like, okay, well I haven't drank in 3 months, so like obviously I'm not an alcoholic, right? Like because what we have in our minds, I think when we think of addiction, is like this caricature of like people who cannot go a day without drinking. And I think that's where a lot of addiction does lead, but I don't think that's how it starts. And I think that's where I was
in denial.
So that kept me from like recognizing addiction for a long time. So in the next 4 or 5 years, I had many times where I would like, I'm not going to drink, or I'm going to limit my drinks to 3 drinks a night. Mine was actually 2, and it would become 3 or 4, right? Because I was just never able to keep those limits up. Even though I had all these reasons, like not exactly DUI, not like legal trouble per se, but I had a lot of like personal stuff that was like clear that I could not manage drinking. But I would just, because I didn't have like legal repercussions, or because I was keeping my job, I felt like I'm not an alcoholic. So I'm really glad I just like kind of broke that cycle. I feel like that mental cycle, and it was like about a year ago, a little over a year, that I was like, I had just Tran had literally thrown me out of the house because I had gone on like a drinking spree, so to speak, and we were separated for 3 weeks. I came back, and I made the big thing again. I'm not going to drink. And, we were able to reconcile some of the things that we were working through. But then 3 months later after that, I was feeling like cravings again. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, why can't I just have one drink? And then at that point, I knew I was an alcoholic, because like those cravings just kept coming back and making me feel like, oh, like, you think you can control this, but like the evidence says you just cannot.
So interesting. Because that's because what you literally said was, I was thinking an addict would be that whatever substance you're abusing gets in the way of your quality of life. But in your head, you were like, my quality of life is actually pretty good. So I'm not an addict, because I think you had the same mindset until you were in the midst of it, right? In the deepest parts of it.
Well, Vin, that ties into last week's episode when we were talking about drugs, the difference between a functioning addict and a non-functioning addict. Not functioning addicts don't ever see it as it's in the way because they're still able to live their life and do the things they need to do or want to do. The non-functioning addicts is where it completely consumes you and that is your life.
But the difference here, I think, is like there was one more component to that, right? It's the one here Phil's bringing about is, yes, he's functioning, but he didn't even know he was an addict. Whereas last week, he was functioning, but he knows he's an addict. He knows he has these cravings. So for me, I didn't even think. So in my mind, I didn't even realize you could be functioning and not realize you're an addict. That's the component I was missing right now. So.
Yeah, I didn't think I was an addict because of this quote of the week. Because what I perceived to be an alcoholic was like someone who just like had to drink every day, had pushed away everyone in their life, was drinking like daily, like, you know, a case of beer daily or whatever.
Yeah.
Was someone who needed to go to rehab. Like someone, by the way, if you are addicted to alcohol and you try to stop and you're drinking a lot, you will go through physical withdrawal symptoms. So you need to carefully manage that. I will say that to anyone listening. So just be careful. There is a risk of, if you're trying to stop drinking cold turkey, be aware.
Yeah, what are the cravings? What do they look like?
Cravings are the withdrawal.
Well, there's withdrawal symptoms. Like, I think it's like there's shaking, there's like lightheadedness. I don't know what all the symptoms are. They're called like the TTs, I think.
Nausea, vomiting.
Sorry?
Is that what you went through when you get cravings?
No, this is if you are an alcohol, like a daily user of alcohol and you stop drinking. I was never really a daily user of alcohol. I would binge drink. Whenever I drank, I binge drank, and wasn't able to like keep within the limits I set for myself.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think that's a scary thing about addiction, which you guys are talking about, like as functioning and non-functioning. I think that it's not really this binary. You're not either or. It's just, you know, if you don't have the right support and stuff around you, I think addiction will often lead you to it becoming an all-consuming thing.
Right. Yeah. Do you regret drinking? Like, would you have changed anything if you could turn back time?
No, man, because I think it takes what it takes. Like truly, like there's this idea that like you need to go through what you had to go through in order to come to this realization. Like, I was so married to the idea that I wasn't an alcoholic. It really took me to go through some serious consequences to realize, like, hey, you're an alcoholic and you need external help. You need all internal help you can get to manage this. So, you know, I'm happy with where I'm at now. So I can't say that I regret it.
Yeah, what's helping you? Because you got addicted in the first place because of your social environment, peer pressure is the best way I can say, social pressure of wanting to feel involved and acknowledged and everything. So what's replacing that now? How are you getting rid of that social pressure?
Yeah, I guess the first thing is I think that there's probably a part of alcoholism that is genetic, right? Like my grandpa was like I think both of my grandparents were alcoholics, but like my paternal grandfather died when he was like 52 from like cirrhosis and cardiac arrest because he was like a daily drinker. Like they literally all would say this, like he was so great during the day and an absolute terror at night. Like my dad and his siblings all say this because he was like a drunk, and he died from alcoholism. You know, I think other conditions that arose from being an alcoholic. So I think there's a part of it that like there's probably a certain element of like people being predisposed to having cravings to alcohol. Like I don't think all of it is societal. And I think I have some of those predispositions given my family background. And then, sorry, your actual question was what's keeping me sober. I did like a 12-step program, which is like a 12-step recovery program. It's just like a generic kind of format for kind of navigating recovery. And it's all based on like higher power. So like your idea of like, you can't manage your addiction, so you kind of give it up to a higher power who is able to do that. I found that worked for me. Like just having a higher power and trying to like key into that level of spirituality, because I think a big part of addiction is like it's a spiritual issue. I think it's like you have issues with fulfillment. Like there's a big part of drinking which is like you don't feel the confidence, right? You don't feel all these things, and you don't feel like you have a purpose, which causes you to like try to fill that void with these substances. And I think a big part of the solution can be spiritual.
Nice.
So that's what's worked for me, and I think it's worked for a lot of people. So if it's something like I tried to do it by myself, like this is what happened. About like a year ago, a year ago, I stopped drinking, and I did a program called SMART, which is a recovery program, and it's self-directed, which means it's just you, and you go through like all these worksheets and like you go to meetings and stuff like that, and like you try to just firmly imbue in your own head that like drinking is not the right choice for you, right? Because the short-term pros that can come from it are way outweighed by the long-term negatives. So it's kind of like this like logical, rational attempt at stopping people from being addicted, and it just didn't work at all, because like within 3 months I was like, okay, but one beer would be fine, right? Like one glass of wine with the steak would hit pretty fucking nicely. So I found that like I couldn't do it by myself. That's how I had been trying to do it for a long time, was by myself, like trying to like logic my way through it. I don't really think logic was really a big part of my drinking in the first place. Like it's insane, the idea that like the things I did when I was drunk were insane, but like the idea that like I would always take that first drink knowing that I probably wouldn't be able to like control myself afterward is also insane. So I think that I had a problem when I was sober as well as when I was drunk. I think alcoholism affects you when you're sober and when you're drunk.
Yeah, interesting. There's a lot of facets to this I didn't even know was a part of drinking. I thought it was very straightforward of like, oh, you want to fit in, there's a void you want to fill, so you go get drunk. But it stems way deeper of I mean, you're the best example. I mean, you literally gave me insight today of like it stems deeper, kind of just throughout your life, just in your everyday, that you don't even know, and hence why you didn't even know you were drunk. I think you went through the same thing. Kind of how alcoholism is portrayed usually.
Yeah.
So my next question was...
Wait, how about Jeff? I mean, was it tough for you? So I know you've been sober for 7 months, but did you lean on any kind of resources to do that, or
nope,
was it just able to do it because of you had to?
I was pretty much told, like, if you keep drinking, there will be irreversible damage. So literally that night I was like, all right, no more alcohol. Haven't touched it since, and like I've gone to parties, like hung out with friends. They can drink in front of me, like I don't tell them they can't. Like I'm not gonna tell other people they can't live their lives. It's been offered to me a few times, and I'm like, oh, no, I'll stick with water or soda or whatever I happen to have in front of me. But the whole like there could be irreversible damage which could lead to cirrhosis and death. I was just like, well, how important is that drink?
Yeah. Okay. Do you still get cravings at all? Like, or it's not? You don't find it difficult to like resist when people offer it?
I wouldn't say I get cravings. Like I'm never sitting there like, oh, I could use a drink right now. But like every once in a while, like I'll see a drink that sounds good, like just sounds delicious, and I'm like, I could have one.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, I probably shouldn't. I am due to go get retested in like 2 months to see if, because they said like the doctors had told me if I lay off of it for a while, like my liver should recover. It should fix itself. It should repair. I don't think I'll go like full force back into drinking. Like, yeah, I'll be what I have been since I got out of college, which is more of just a social drinker. Like, I'll have a drink or two at a party, really only at like special occasions and holidays. Like, I'll probably go back to that once this is cleared, but I don't feel the need to ever get drunk again. As weird as that sounds, because a lot of people drink to get drunk, like that's kind of the purpose of alcohol. I'm more of the social drinker now of like, at like Halloween, like I had a bunch of friends over and they were all having a couple of drinks. Had I already been cleared, I probably would have had a beer or two. But
yeah. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So do you consider yourself an alcoholic or no?
I was.
Okay.
Because granted, once again, everyone tried to justify it because it was college, but I wasn't drinking to be social in college most of the time. Like, were there occasions that I was? Absolutely. Like, hanging out with the guys, but most of my drinking was alone. It was to deal with everything else that was going on in my life and, traumas and PTSD and whatever you want to label it as. Like, I drank to forget. So, at the time, did I think I had an issue? No. Looking back on it, after I got the DUI and decided, like, okay, I need to slow down and stop, I looked back at it and I was like, I was a fucking alcoholic. I had a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's one way to think of it too. Is like I think alcohol can be viewed as a solution. Like if you're like thinking of what is it called, like functioning alcoholic? Maybe that's someone like where the solution of alcohol is working for them. Like alcohol is working in, making them forget about certain things or like, helping them tide over these like feelings that they're having, and then until they can like work through it. No, I think it's a solution until it's not. Basically, like some people like use it as their only solution, but it's not going to actually fix your issues, like fix the underlying issues, right? So you need to be doing other things like therapy or spiritual work or whatever to actually address like those things that you want to escape from, because I think ultimately it's just a temporary escape, and then it becomes less and less effective because it starts causing more issues than like it's a solution that ends up causing more problems than it fixes.
Right. And I did end up going to therapy shortly after. Like, that's when I started it, and I've been regularly in therapy for the past, 6-7 years. Yeah. But
it's interesting. I haven't, like, I was going to therapy while I feel like my alcoholism was getting worse. So, like, I felt like therapy wasn't really helping me.
And I've heard that a lot. Like, some people, like, it's either a godsend and it's the greatest thing ever and it helps them, or it does absolutely nothing. I kind of fall in the middle. I'm not like, oh my god, therapy is king, but it helped me to work through at least a portion of the shit that I've dealt with. Enough to where I didn't need to keep drinking to shut my head up.
Yeah. That makes sense. I feel like maybe I just got to it too late, too. Like, maybe if it's like I had started doing therapy a lot earlier, like, I wouldn't have been so addicted to alcohol to where, like, that was its own problem that needed its own fixing. And, like, maybe I think therapy did help me kind of address a portion, like you were saying, of confidence issues, insecurities, and things like that. But I think that alcohol had become its own problem at that point as well.
Well, it was also a little different between you and I, is you actually had the physical cravings where you were, like, physically wanting a drink, whereas I never really experienced that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I had physical cravings. I just wanted to drink. You know what I mean? It wasn't like a feeling in my stomach or anything. It was just like in my mind, like, drink would be great. Drink would be great.
Well, so, I think that's what he means.
Is that what a physical craving is?
Yeah.
Well, I'd call that one more a mental craving than a physical. Physical is like, you got a stomach ache or a headache that can only be quelled with a drink.
Oh, interesting.
So that's kind of how I interpreted it when you had first said it. But if it was purely mental, I wouldn't say that was a physical craving. That was more of a, like, I want to drink, I want to drink, I want to drink.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I've experienced physical cravings like that. I mean, maybe in like very early like recovery, like the first week, sure, maybe I had physical cravings, but other than that, no. So it's kind of weird. Like I kind of perceive myself as like, I feel like I caught myself early. To be honest, like I feel very lucky because I feel like, and it's impossible to prove this, right? But like I feel like I kind of caught myself before stuff got really bad. Like stuff had already started to get really bad, but I feel like it could have gotten a lot worse. And I feel like I kind of was just like recognized like you need to stop drinking. If you are addicted to alcohol, you will not be able to drink like other people. Period.
I do have a curious question about you catching yourself, like, because you had mentioned that Tran kicked you out.
Yeah.
Do you think you would? Do you think you would have caught yourself had she not?
No, never mind. So I don't. To the extent that I caught myself as kind of. I think that there was. I think that was very important in deciding to get sober. But I really think the point where I caught myself was like this moment 3 months afterward, where it was like Tran had nothing to do with it. Well, she did, and so far as like we were still trying to like make things work because we had just been separated for a bit. But it was that moment of like understanding the insanity of me wanting to drink again, like despite what I had just gone through. I think that was like the moment where I was like, okay, like you have this like thing in your head that like you're like forgetting. You're forgetting like the consequences you've just endured. So you need to figure out a way to like not do that, like keep it at the front of your mind constantly. And I think that 12-step programs help you do that.
So I'm not trying to downplay what you go through, right? You put in a lot of effort, right? Obviously, you yourself wanted to change, and you went through all the steps, and you found out what worked and didn't work. But I think what Jeff is trying to say is, take Tran out of the equation. You never met Tran. Like, could you imagine yourself in a situation where you by yourself would have been like, I have a problem, let me stop on my own? Because I would say a relationship, your job, your house, I think those are good, like big trauma-inducing like catalysts to make changes. So that's where your wording of, oh, I caught myself, life caught you, right?
Well, I don't want to downplay, like, because he did catch himself. Like, he put in the effort and the work, but like I do think she was the catalyst to it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which does lead to your question, like, take that catalyst away, would you still be drinking?
Because in my head, it's your Tran is worth more than the alcohol, right? That's why you made the changes. So take Tran away. What would have been your motivations to stop?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think that it kind of goes back. And I think that catching myself is probably the wrong way. I'm just grateful that it happened when it did, because I still can imagine me losing a lot more. You know what I mean? Like, take Tran out of the equation. Like, I think I can envision, right? Like, by the end of my drinking, I had started to drink under the influence. Drive under the influence, and that was like a barrier I thought I would never cross, because like I said, told you guys earlier, right? Like, I would ride with my cousins, and I'd always be in the back because I was too pussy. I was not willing to like face the consequences. And at a certain point, like, that changed. And I broke this internal rule that I thought I never would, that like, oh, like, you are just driving under the influence. So, and I never got caught legally, right? But you know what I mean? Like, you don't know where that slippery slope ends. It just goes back to what I said earlier. It takes what it takes. And in this case, like, Tran was a big part of that, of being a catalyst in that. And that was enough for me now, which I'm grateful for, because I hadn't lost her yet. You know what I mean? Like, and I hadn't lost my kid, right? Like, we just had a kid 3 months ago. So you know what I mean? Like, I guess I'm saying I feel lucky insofar as, like, it doesn't feel like I've lost anything. You know what I mean? Like, I stopped drinking before I really lost things without any chance of recovering them. Because I see a lot of people who go through alcoholism who just, there's no chance, right? Like they got divorced 10 years ago. You know what I mean? And they still have so many issues with their, they have really bad issues with their kids. They've lost jobs. It's just like the consequences get really, really severe, like you're saying, Ben. And for some people, that's what it takes, And I don't know what consequences would have catalyzed me to do that for myself, or whether it was like another relationship. But I think for each person, like there is like a breaking point where like that is how you are catalyzed to make change. I think very few people can do it. Like be like, oh, I'm in a great spot. What I need to do is get myself recovered from my addiction. Right?
Unless you're David Goggins, he just does whatever he wants. He's like, I want to do this, I'm doing it. He just does it. Freaking madman.
I think most people come into recovery from a place of rock bottom. It's like a phrase you hear a lot. People face a rock bottom, and then they start like a recovery process.
I would agree, because I could ask myself the same question. Take out my catalyst of the DUI. Had I not got caught that night, would I have stopped? Probably not. I'd probably be dead. Like the rate I was going, I probably would have drank myself to an early grave.
That's scary.
Yeah, I think that's the scary thing about alcohol compared to. I mean, obviously there are very hard drugs which will have even worse effects, but like now you see a lot more cannabis, and I think that alcohol, like just like I said, the medical outcomes of alcohol are just much worse. Like you could die. Like this is a disease that kills people, a lot of people in the U.S. every year, and yet we glorify it. For its pros. So, yeah.
You mentioned you have a kid and everything. How are you gonna teach them? Yeah, just all your kids. How are you gonna teach them growing up about alcohol now that you've been through what you've been through? What are kind of your principles now?
Yeah, I mean, my desire is that they never see me drunk. Right? They never see me drink. That is what the example I want to set is that. But at the same time, I don't want to project onto them. Like I think I have a particular problem with alcohol, and I don't want to I think saying like you shouldn't drink alcohol would be a mistake, because it's like, number one, that might not really apply to them yet. You know what I mean? And every person's journey, I think, kind of is their own, and so. I just want to be a good example, make sure that like they have spirituality in their life, because I think spirituality is like a really much a safeguard for addiction and a source of fulfillment.
Yeah.
And honestly, I used to fantasize about like having a first drink with their kids, because like I never got to drink with my parents. And I remember wanting to do that. I remember wanting to have like my first drink be something very special. So maybe I will. I don't know if I'll facilitate that for them or whatever, but yeah, I would just rather them like be safe. I don't know. I feel so white when I say these. Sorry, no offense, but I feel so white when I say these things, because it's like I remember being like an Indian kid growing up, and it was like you just couldn't, like your parents couldn't know that you drank or whatever, like, and then you had like your white friends whose parents were cool with it, and now I'm just like imagining like being one of those parents. Like,
and that was me. Like, my mom knew we were gonna drink, so I would probably take the same philosophy she did, and her rule was, if you're gonna do it under my roof, because I know you're safe. So like I was able to invite my friends over and be like, all right guys, give me money, I'll give it to my mom, she'll go get us liquor, and we can hang out and play fucking Call of Duty and get drunk. Like, that was kind of how it was for me until I got out of high school and all that. So that's probably how I would approach it with my kids, of like, I'm not going to tell you no, because then I know you're going to go out and do some shady shit.
Yeah.
I'm going to teach you the dangers of it and what can happen, and then if you want to do it, you can do it here.
Yeah, man. Wow, that's crazy. I can't imagine buying it. Like, that's like the next level for me. I never even thought about that. I was like, well, if you somehow procure it, you want to do it here, fine. But like you're right. Like then it's illegal. They're like, illegally purchasing alcohol underage, which I don't want my kid doing. But if they're going to be doing it anyway, is it better that I just buy it for them? I don't know. That's a tough parenting question. I'm not really sure.
I'm not saying it's the right thing to do, but like, I think of, my mindset when I was younger and my friend's mindset. Like, if you were told no by your parents, what were you going to do? You were going to sneak out or lie, and you were going to go find a way to do it. So cut that portion out and just be like, all right, fuck it, just do it here. At least I can watch you and make sure you're not stupid.
Yeah, I mean, this is the hard thing about being a parent. I'm so self-interested, man. Like, my first thing that comes into my head is, like, what is my liability if I buy my kid alcohol? Like, that's, like, literally the first thing that pops into my mind. It's not, like, is my kid drinking safely? It's, like, if stuff goes wrong, like, am I going to be liable for this and go to jail because, like, kids were drinking underage and I bought them alcohol? And I think that that's, like, just a problem that I have, that I'm so self-centered. So I think I would want to do something that is best for my kid, right? Like what I deem to be best for them. Kind of strip that out of my thinking.
Loophole, it's not illegal if you buy it for yourself and they take it out of the fridge.
I see, alright.
For legal reasons, that's a joke.
Yeah.
But it is legal, so it's not a joke.
Bum bum.
Right?
This will be used as evidence in the future. I'm imagining of like Anne-Marie just like drinking. Like one of Anne-Marie's friends just dies from alcohol poisoning in my house, and I'm like, all right.
Well, that's why you watch them.
Fridge.
That's why you watch them. You don't let them drink that much. You let them have a drink or two, and they'll be like, "Oh, this is nasty." Be like, see, you don't want to do it again, right?
Right. Yeah.
Right, so if you did watch them die, you are liable.
Well, now you're absolutely liable, yes.
You were like, dude, I think of like the Game of Thrones where they like, I don't know if you guys have seen that, where they have like a jester, and he's like literally forcing wine down this guy's throat as like a punishment, and it's like, that's screwed up, but that's what I was thinking. I'm literally force feeding these teenage girls alcohol.
Right. Yeah, no, behaviorally they teach you that. So there's studies have done like, if you say no and you like restrict your kids, it's proven that they just want the cravings. That doesn't actually work. So I remember a story where one guy, he took that to heart, and he's like, he hid some books into like his corner, whatever, and he told his kid every day, he's like, don't touch that corner, that's Dad's secret book. But it's all these just chapter books like Harry Potter or something. And so he just kept putting that into his kid, and one day his kid like snuck and like, oh my god, like I'm doing something really bad. It is just Harry Potter, and he starts reading it, and his kid starts reading it every day. Like now it's like his habit. Like he just loves reading so much because of that. So he did reverse psychology. So yeah, obviously, so restricting your kids is no way to go. So I've thought many times about how I would teach my kids, and I think it's more of like just education, right? And informing them. It's just like, hey, like here are the pros and cons to, in this case, is drinking, and I'm not gonna stop you from drinking, right? Obviously that's the wrong way to go, but it's like, just be careful, be safe, and these are the steps you can take. If you need any help, I'm there, right? It's out of like love and support, and let them know like, because I think a big thing is also we don't want our kids to lie to us, right? It's like we don't want them to sneak and hide stuff and whatever. So I think I would come from a place of like honesty, truth, and just love and support of if you're gonna do it, then like, okay, here, do it under my, like kind of taking from your mom, right? It's like, let me do it under my place, do it under my house, if you really want to do that with your friends.
So you more so want to be the dad that like, your kids are going to do it, you want them to be safe, and you want to have that level of trust to where if they're at like a friend's house and they're drunk at 3 a.m, they can call you and be like, Dad, I need help getting home.
Right.
Yeah.
And they know you're going to be there.
Yeah.
So. Okay. My last question was, Phil, what advice would you give to people struggling with alcohol?
I guess, I would say biggest advice is like to be humble and really take a look at honest like look at yourself, right? Because I think it was a lot of pride and um, comparing myself to other people as opposed to really evaluating myself internally that made me feel like I wasn't an alcoholic for a very long time. So I think the first step is just always humility and understanding. Like, do you like what is my problem? Do I actually have a problem? Um, because I think once you figure out that it's a problem, at least that for me was my experience was I really kept convincing myself I didn't have a problem. So I think it's the first step is really honestly answering, is this a problem? And it's not relative to anybody else. It's just relative to your own life.
Nice. Yeah. Good. Yeah. I think you're the best. I'm glad you were on this one. You went through all the steps to take, and you saw what worked and didn't work. So, yeah, man, it's awesome.
Yeah, man, it was good. I'm glad I was able to join this one. I never thought I would. I think that's like the funny thing about now identifying as an alcoholic. It's like I never was like why would I talk about alcohol? I don't have a problem with alcohol. That's literally, if you had asked me like a year ago, I'd be like, no, you know some alcoholics, right? Like, we have some alcoholic friends. You should ask them. It's like, that's being down in the gutter, looking down on other people. Like, I really also had a problem with alcohol.
Yeah, that's the there's no war in Bossing say. That's the I'm not an alcoholic. Like,
yeah,
I'm not an alcoholic, guys. I promise. Everyone else may say I am, but it's not. It's not real.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go into the testimony section. I usually probably gonna start first all the time since I can't relate the most. Me growing up, I mean, my dad was, as everyone knows, my dad now, he's the party type. So, I mean, he introduced me to alcohol when I was like 5. You know, he just gave me a beer. It was the green one. I don't even know the name.
What's Heineken?
Heineken? Yeah. He just gave me, I don't even know the names. And he gave me a sip, and I was like, this tastes horrible. And then just never did it. And, you know, everyone laughs, whatever. And crazy thing is, I definitely saw my dads and his friends drunk all the time. Good stuff. They always seem like they have fun, but I don't know why it never hit me. I guess with my friends, we just never drunk, and then the people, my friends that did drink early, they never showed that in front of me, right? They never invited me to those parties or anything, so I never saw that. And then going into college, I always went out. I was always my nickname was the opposite of yours. It's Permanent DD. So everyone knew like I would always drive and take care of them. So I got lucky with my groups of friends where we just we hung out. We had our party decks, we called it. You know, it's like at one of our friends' house, parents' house, and on their back patio, back porch, and we just talk into the night, and that's what kind of sustained our friendship, my friend groups, where it was all those deep talks and everything that really made me feel fulfilled and fit in and acknowledged. And I got lucky. I think I got lucky. I got that early, because I can imagine myself in the environment I was in college, where, because we went out every single weekend. I was invited every single weekend we went out, and I was in the clubs, in those parties, drinking all around me. And if I didn't have my high school friend groups and we didn't keep in touch and stuff, for sure, I can see myself getting into the drinking environment. And I'm really glad I became Permanent DD. It's funny because I think, would you all agree, isn't there like a negative connotation to, DD? It's kind of like, oh, I'm not having fun. I have to kind of watch everyone, right? Kind of that parent kind of vibe. For me, I'm really glad. I took it the opposite way. I was like, if I can be there and save someone or just, help someone, like that's enough for me to be Permanent DD. And it happened twice. The most prevalent was one of my best friends' bachelor party. We were at Austin, 6th Street, and the typical. And he's also kind of straight shot, doesn't drink unless socially, whatever. But this night, his Air Force people, they were just like, dude, we're going out, we gotta whatever, and got him drunk, shots, pre gaming, all that jazz. And by the third bar we hopped, he was just gone, and to the point where he threw up in the street, and everyone kicked him out. Everyone, like, he was struggling to walk, and no club, no bars took him anymore. So. And I think the mistake we made was we sat down, and I don't know what happened there, but he sat down and it was just out. And so we're like, okay, we got to call an Uber. The problem was it was it was in the summer, so I think like that weekend, it's just busy, right? Summer weekend, and the freaking Uber didn't come for 20 minutes, and I'm the only sober one, so I took it upon myself and I held him up for 20 minutes, and at some point, like 5 minutes in, he passed out, and he was blackout. So I'm holding dead weight. That was my first time holding dead weight ever, and I was lucky. Luckily, I was on my workout grind that time, and so I was on my peak physical health. So I managed. We took him home. I carried him in, and I took care of him. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, all six. Yeah, the whole group. We had to like. Not fireman carry, like kind of just all carry him inside, and I took care of him. I stayed up till about 5 a.m. when he finally sobered up, keeping him on his side, giving him water and everything. So, and everyone else was like drunk. So that for me, what I felt, that fulfilled it. I was like, dude, this is what I don't know the word, like this is what I was meant for. This is why I became permanent DD, just for even that one moment. So that's pretty much my story. And so now I limit myself. So before, my limit was 1 drink per event, because I knew socially it's like, hey, like everyone wants to have fun with me, everyone wants me there, so I'm not gonna be that guy. It's like, guys, like stop that. It's like, okay, let me take 1 shot with y'all. Everyone respects it, everyone loves it, great. Until it was like one of my birthdays, and my family, I love it because my sister's always like, Vin, like, I want to see you drunk one time. Like, I know you're being so crazy. And I'm like, no, you're not breaking my vows, you demon. Like, it's a joke, but so it was just my birthday, and everyone's just like, 1 more drink, like, come on. And I was like, fine. And so I upped my limit to 2 drinks. So guys, I know, I'm crazy. I'm sorry. 2 drinks, man. So yeah. That's my relationship. That's my testimony with alcohol. So
you are so much nicer than me and my friends. You stayed up till 5, made sure he stayed on his side. We would find a backpack, stuff 2 blankets in it, put it on him, and be like, all right, that'll keep him on their side for the night.
Oh, yeah. I guess I could have done that. I don't know. Yeah, I was just so scared. Everyone was like, yeah, we gotta make sure he's on his side. Like, we can't. Something about like you choke on your vomit.
You can.
You die. Yeah, I was like, dude, I'm not having my best friend die on me, so.
Yeah, we would just find a backpack, you stuff a couple blankets in it, put it on them, throw them down on the bed, they'll stay on their side all night, just, okay.
Hilarious. I can't believe you held him up. I would have just let him be on the ground, to be honest.
I don't know. Yeah, it didn't seem.
Just like, I gotta make sure.
You're just a nice person, Vin.
Yeah, you're awesome.
And we're assholes.
Alright, Jeff.
I mean, I feel like I've already pretty much said my story with drinking. I had my first drink at 8 years old. It was a shot of tequila. After that, the first time I got drunk, I was 14. I drank an entire 5th of Absolute vodka. That was a terrible decision. Threw up so much that night. After that, it was a lot of social drinking throughout high school. Like, never really got, like, drunk. But then I got out of high school, joined the Army, I went overseas, and when I got back from overseas, I went to college, and I was okay for my first semester of college. Like, kind of hung out with some people, drank a little bit. But after that, like, it was, like, shit just hit the fan. I started drinking every single night. Like, my paychecks pay the bills. What's left? Booze. Bottle of Jack. Bottle whatever I get my hands on. Case of beer. Up until I got the DUI, that was kind of my wake-up call. Like, bro, you gotta stop. Like I said, not justifying it. Don't drink and drive, please. But I got very fortunate that nobody got hurt. Like, all that happened. I got arrested. I paid fines. I went to classes. Had to attend a couple seminars. But that was my wake-up call to be like, all right, like, knock it off. Like, I didn't quit drinking. I just stopped getting to that level as often as I was. I then from there just kind of went to the social drinker, have a couple drinks, like at the bar with friends or on special occasions. The very last time that I got like drunk was my wedding night. But that was in a controlled environment. I was safe. Nobody got hurt. I let loose, like all the guys, like all the guests, they wanted to have drinks with me. I did so many shots, had so many drinks, but that was in 2020. So it's been 4 years since I've been drunk, and then I quit drinking April of this year. After I went to the hospital with side pain, and they told me my liver was not in good condition, and that I need to stop drinking. They did say, thank God there's no permanent damage. It can heal itself, I just can't drink for a while. So haven't had a drop in, 7 months now? Yeah, 7 months. And I'm not saying I'll never drink again. Like, when the doctor gives me the all clear, I'll probably go back to being a social drinker, like on holidays or whatever. You know, if I have the guys over, you know, I can have a beer. But I don't feel the need to ever get drunk again. Because I've realized, like, as I get older, I don't like not being in control of what's going on. And when I'm drunk, I am not in control of what's going on. So, yeah, there's my story.
Dude, I don't know what your moment was between you and I of getting close, but that was one of mine with you and me. I think it was at Chick-fil-A or something, and you mentioned to me, you were like, dude, I went to the doctors, and they told me my liver sucks, and that was one of my moments of like, oh, like he's confiding in me. It was pretty cool. So that was one of the first memories of us kind of getting close. That was one of the first things you told me.
I do remember that day.
Mm-hmm. All right, Phil. Anything you want to add with your testimony?
Yeah, I guess I'll just. I think I've said a lot. I think the points that I really like to hammer home, because I literally have this discussion with myself all the time. Like, I literally try to convince myself I'm not an alcoholic all the time, because I still do this thing where I compare myself to like the consequences other people have suffered, and I say, hey, you're literally not an alcoholic. Like, no one, even in your friend group, would have said you were an alcoholic. But like, the truth is, like, I just could not control my drinking, and like I know that to still be the case. It's not that like I was a daily user. It's just that when I drank, I really spree drank, like binge drank. And so I think alcoholism can take a lot of forms, but at the end of the day, it comes down to like the ability to control your drinking, and I just could not do that. And yeah, it's like a constant. If you're constantly doubting whether you're an alcoholic or not, you're probably an alcoholic. But there are formal tests you can take to kind of give you an objective standpoint on that. And yeah, if you want to reach out to me on Discord, I'm very happy to talk to anyone listening if they're going through problems with alcohol, or just want to talk about alcohol addiction. Just want to make myself available, because yeah, I have benefited a lot from like the other thing besides like that first step that I mentioned earlier of like, hey, do you have a problem? Is fellowship, like just this idea of like when addicts get together and talk about their experiences. I mean, it's basically just group therapy, right? I guess, but it's free, so
nice.
I'm happy to make myself as a resource for that too.
Good.
I think there's a lot of healing.
I mean, you're right here too, so helping a lot of people out.
Yeah, I'm so grateful. Thanks for having me on and to talk about it. I'm glad you guys are going through all these things. I think I'm really interested to see how like they're all connected, because I think like the root of addiction, like I said earlier, is usually spiritual. So I'm curious if like after this you see some of that or not. Like they're all distinct issues.
What's I'm already seeing a pattern, right? I'm already starting. It's only been this is chapter 5, so yeah.
It's interesting you say that though, Phil. Like, little spoiler for those listening on this one. the drugs one, he said the same thing. Like, his turning point was spirituality.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a good one. All right, we'll end it here. So this was alcohol. Next week we'll be talking about partying. I think a good next step after alcohol, or I don't know if partying should have been first, but oh well, I already made this order. So, Jeff, with the motto.
All right, for those of y'all listening, don't forget we do have our Discord server. It is the Brothers Bonfire. If you're wanting a community and a band of brothers that are going through similar experiences as you, then come join us on our journey and take a seat at the bonfire. Our Discord link is in the About section on both YouTube and Spotify. All are welcome.
Along with uploading every Wednesdays, we're also streaming the podcast if we're recording on Sundays. So come hang with us after the podcast. The stream is a safe space for anyone to just chill, hang, and chat about anything. Take care, guys. I know today's not Sunday, so that's a lie.
We actually have a good amount of people in the chat chatting, so we'll stick around today.
Maybe we should just stream it all the time, man. Maybe.
We can. There's nothing that says we can't.
All right, let me stop the audio recording real quick. Phil, how was that, man?
It's good, man.
Compared to the first time.
Yeah, I felt way more comfortable for sure. I feel like I was just kind of talking. I don't know. I felt very passionate about it. Maybe it's just the topic I was more passionate about.
But even like how we handled it, right? Like, what did you feel a difference this time? How we hosted, or was it about pretty much the same?
Honestly, I know that this is bad because it wasn't that long ago. I just don't remember the first time. I was curious, like how y'all hosted it all the first time. I need to maybe rewatch the episode.
No, I mean,
I feel like you guys did a great job today. Like, dude, I feel like you guys gave me a lot of. Maybe that was the issue last time that I talked about, was not feeling like I could go into my own tangents. I definitely feel like I was able to steer the conversation more.
Good. We encourage tangents. Yeah. Like if it is helping you drive a point or a story that you think is relevant, you want to tell, by all means.
Well,
yeah. Good, Vin.
Phil, right. You were the first guinea pig, and that was in July, dude. So yeah. We recorded in July. I mean, what was that? 5 months ago? I don't know. I mean, you're not gonna actually remember. It's actually crazy. 5 months have passed.
Yeah.
I do gotta point something out to you, Phil, from our chat, because I don't think you can see it. Someone said your nickname was Wild.
4 and below, yeah, or back out. So yeah, that was me, man.
Dude, Bailey Legal asked if you're drunk right now because you don't remember our first podcast. That's funny.
He immediately said, "Too soon."
Too soon. Oh man, that's so cool. All right, cool. I'm gonna hop off, guys, but thank y'all for having me on. I'll just say something in one of these chats. Which one should I do? Is it Bro Talk? You think? Just to say like, hey, like, I just was on the alcohol. Oh, I guess I could do it after you.
So Bro Talk is just with the bros, but if you want to talk to everyone, it's in the general chat. So both works. It's fine. But
okay. Yeah. Cool. And this won't go out for another 4 weeks, right?
Yeah, we're like 4 or 5 weeks out. We're pretty backlogged. We're doing good.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, Jeff, I'm so sorry, man, about what your wife is going through, man. I don't know, if you need anything that I can help with, please let me know.
We'll talk.
Sounds good. See ya.
Bye.
Bye, Phil.
Oh yeah. How'd you feel about this one?
It was good. Anyone in the chat have anything they want to talk about?
Felt good, great talk. Aw, thanks. Do I know this person?
Barely Legal? Yes, you do. That is your ping pong nemesis.
Oh, what the hell? Are you serious? How'd you get him on here? What the hell?
He's in the Discord now.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, he's in mine.
Okay, well. Lame.
You can always join the Brothers Bonfire one if you want to, but it's rather quiet right now.
What? We've actually picked up some.
It's starting to. People are starting to get comfortable and talking there.
Exactly. Come on, man. You can start somewhere. Hey, brother, what's up?
And yes, Wolf, we did talk last night on the phone, and you know I'm still here for you if you're thinking you're gonna start struggling again. I am curious what you meant though when you said wedding ?
I think you talked about it, right? That's what the.
But he said that before I brought the wedding up.
I mean, he. Oh, did he not know? Maybe I thought.
And he wasn't at my wedding. First drink. If you don't want to type the context in here, by all means, just say that, and I'll ask you offline. Any time for some Liar's Bar or what? Probably. I mean, it's only 7:26. I can probably play for a little bit. I gotta go ask Cass, though. Thursday's her day. And I already took a portion of her day away to do this.
Oh. Liar's Bar. I need to get that.
It's fun. It's fun.
But I need to go to the gym.
You bouncing off then?
Yeah, I'm chilling for a little bit. I'm just getting the download in and then setting up and then yeah, we'll head out.
Oh, you wanted to know where I had my first drink. I don't remember what holiday it was, but it was at my uncle's house.
You don't remember because you were drunk?
I was 8.
Oh, never mind. With the Craigbot, I found out. So I had to donate $1 a month, which is nothing on Patreon, but they can just automatically download into my Google Drive. So I did that.
Nice.
I
Takes
like,
one more step out of the process.
Exactly. Like I'm invested enough. I can just I'll just spend $1 a month. Craig has served us well. Thank you, Brother Bot, if you're listening.
Had my first beer at 8. By the way, keep a bottle of hard liquor in the freezer and freeze it. You will be able to tell if your kid is sneaking shots by if it freezes or not. Yeah, I mean, if it's vodka and they keep adding water back to it, eventually it'll freeze. Or I guess really any liquor. I mean, if they're dumb enough to add water to whiskey or rum. That is how they caught my brother and me. You guys were adding water back to it and it froze? I never had that issue. I just was like, Mom, I have people coming over. Here's $50. Go get us this, this, and this.
Yeah, I'm glad. I don't know. I feel like my dad would just advocate, just wouldn't care. He'd buy me alcohol. He'd probably buy me the alcohol too. And probably drink with us.
I mean, looking back at it, my mom probably shouldn't have been supplying alcohol to 14 and 15-year-olds, but I understood the thought process of, well, if you don't do it here and I don't get it for you, God knows where you're going to get it and where you're going to do it.
Right. Yeah. All right. I need to go pee, so I'm going to go. Bye, everyone. And I'll see you tomorrow, Jeff.
I'm going to go ahead and shut the stream down as well. Thank y'all for coming out and listening, and look forward to the episode being posted on Spotify and YouTube. Bye, everybody.